They're detailed, they have a plan, they're organized, and it makes them knowledgeable. That's what I've seen out of the great ones, from Don Showalter to Kevin Eastman to, just a lot of guys I've been fortunate to sit in the room with. And they're passionate about what it is that they're
Yeah.
doing. Hey, that's what our kids have to see from us coaches.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head boys basketball coach at Pace Academy and USA basketball coach, Sharman White. Coach White is entering his 21st year as a head coach, 29th overall. He has a career record of 522 wins and 122 losses. He led his teams to 7 state championships in 8 years at Miller Grove and 3 state championships in 4 years at Pace Academy. Coach White is a 2-time National Coach of the Year. He's also a McDonald's All-American Game and Nike Hoop Summit coach. Coach White was named the head coach of the 2024 USA Basketball Men's U17 National Team. He's brought home 6 gold medals during his time with USA Basketball. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
How you doing?
There he is.
I don't know about that.
What's up, Coach?
Hey, man, how you doing? You doing all right?
I'm living the dream here. Just want to thank you so much for giving up your time, coming on here, talking hoops. This is an honor for me.
Oh, man, look at here. It's an honor for me. You are very well heard throughout the airwaves and, on the emails and social media, everything. You got it going everywhere.
Wow. I don't really know what to say about that. I'll take it just as I'm humbled by that. I appreciate it. And, there are guys that do this way better than I do, that really have an idea of what they're doing. I'm just a coach that likes talking hoops, and hopefully that's what comes through. So,
it's all good, man. It's for the love of the game. It's the labor of love, man.
no doubt, and just a way to connect with other coaches, give back to the game. That's been probably you. I know you feel the same way. It's been so good to me. So it's kind of like the least I can do is get guys like you on here, learn and pick your brain a little bit. And I know there'll be coaches that every talk pick up at least one thing, because that's how I feel.
That's all you got to do is pick up one thing. That's why we go to coaching clinics. And God told me a long time ago, he said, don't try to get everything. Just try to get one thing to take. If you got one thing, you've won.
Man, that's a really good point. Jeff Clarkson is the coach of Prestonwood Academy that's in the DFW. Julius Randle played for him.
Yeah, Mickey.
Mickey. Yeah. So, but he's a buddy of mine, and he felt that kind of pressure, or had that question of, like, when you listen to a podcast, when you're at a clinic, there's so much good information, but I think maybe the art of all of this is figuring out what can work for you, what just sounds good but doesn't apply, and knowing the difference between those two.
Yeah, it's an art to it, man. It's an art to it, picking and prodding and figuring out what you can use and what works for you, and what, how does that, flow with what you're trying to get done. And again, you can find new stuff, and you can write down a million things, but it's only going to be, I still got notes from clinics I went to back in early 2000s, Tubby Smith at University of Kentucky. And I'll just go back and, fresh over it. I might find something that might work now that didn't work then. So, it's part of that growing process.
That's another good nugget too. Instead of sitting there in a clinic, I'm guilty of this. Like TABC is the biggest clinic down here in Texas, and the guy will be talking about a 2-3 zone, and I the temptation is to immediately turn my brain off, get my phone out, because we don't do that. But I think if you have this growth mindset and you want to be a lifelong learner, you take notes. But to your point, what if in 5 years we want to become a better zone team? Maybe we have the personnel for that. I have to have those notes from that talk to go back to.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, again, I never throw that stuff away. My wife probably was like, "What are you going to do with that stuff? You're not going to ever use it. We're not throwing it away. I can tell you that."
Hoarding is a negative thing, except if it's basketball notes from clinics. That's okay. Like if with all of the stuff that you do with basketball, with USA basketball, being a college coach, still at Pace Academy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so still there, like, I mean, you're just in so many areas of basketball or have been. And with the clinics that you do, how do you go through that process of taking notes, but then figuring out what to use and what you don't or what you can't use?
Well, when you go to a clinic, you generally with most clinics, they'll tell you what every speaker and what they'll be speaking about. And, I just kind of go through and kind of prioritize what I really, really want to, zoom in on. It might be something that I might not be doing presently, but it's something that intrigues me. And so I just go through and kind of prioritize what I need to be really locked in on. And I just listen. I sit there and take notes and listen. But, it's some things that like will stick more so than others. And I just try to look for those things that I know that'll stick. And it's kind of like a sixth sense type of deal.
Yeah.
I can kind of like know exactly what it is that drives me or that says, okay, this is something you could use possibly. And I'll know, to make special highlight to that and asterisk it and everything else just to make sure that that's something that I keep in mind that I want to use. And, again, like it's great to do it. I love go to clinics, postseason, but I really like to go to the ones prior to a season,
Mm.
like the ones in the fall. I think that that gets your juices flowing, and you're so ramped up because the season's right around the corner, and so you just you generally kind of like see things in a different you know your mind sees it
Yeah.
different. Your mind is more open because you're getting ready to start the season and you want to be able to have fresh things and try new things and things of that nature. Sometimes in the postseason, you kind of like after a long season, your mind does not have the same type of juices that it has.
Nothing works now. I don't
Yeah,
want to see any
yeah,
of this
I
crap.
can't use it until when.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You said something about having a sixth sense, about knowing what works for you and what doesn't. And then my thought was kind of like, okay, like how do you, if you don't have that, how do you get it? And I kind of wrote down identity. Like you got to know who you are as a coach, what type of style of basketball works for your clientele, that, but also that you believe in. And if you know that, if you have an identity, while you're sitting there, your brain is just starting to sift through these things and almost like to put into folders. Can't use that. Oh, that's really good. I can use that now. But the only way you have that folder, in my opinion, is if you have an identity.
yeah, sort of. I mean, like as far as my teams go, our identity is based on playing hard and competing and things of that nature. Because I don't really like subject myself to having a style
Right.
because I kind of fit my style based on my team. And that could be from, year to year. I mean, but I'm always looking at my team and seeing what can we do. And there's some things that we do traditionally and normally, like I don't get away from. I try to make sure my teams are able to do it. But, by that same token, especially when you're talking about the offensive side of the basketball, you have to really cater to your group and making sure that you can get the maximum amount of effort and the maximum amount of success out of them based on what kind of what the personnel you have and then what you want to be able to have them to be able to do based on their personnel. So it's kind of like a give and take deal for me. I don't just like, again, I just don't subscribe myself to saying we run the flex and we're every team we have we're going to run the flex because I might have a 6'8", 6'9", and 6'8" front line, and trying to get them to do the flex is not going to be
Yeah.
productive for us if we got that kind of size.
And that's a really good point. I would imagine with USA basketball, you have a ton of those 6'8", 6'9" guys that you can do a lot of things with. And on that note, I just got this from online, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 30-0 with USA basketball with 5 gold medals. Is that right, or am I completely off on that?
No, that's correct. That's correct.
Man, like that's incredible. One, thank you so much for what you've done with USA basketball and training up our younger players. Like that's incredible. But to your point, I think you almost have to be fluid, like what does Bruce Lee say, like water, with those teams that you have, because you don't know from year to year what you're going to have.
Yeah, you don't know what you're going to have from year to year. We know how we like to build the teams, but then again, you have several guys come into training camp and you're trying to put together the best team. It's not about how many 5 stars are on a team, how many 4 stars on a team. It can be a 2 star. They fit the team that we're trying to build. And we just, again, we don't get much time with these young
Yeah.
men. We have a training camp, we select the team, and then we go play. So we have to be very, very intentional about, like what it is that we need from this team and what it is that we're trying to, we feel like that'll help us go win a gold medal. I mean, when you look at it, and Coach Showalter, he's one of my mentors, and he's guided me through that USA process because he did it for so long. But we always say that we have our five. Let's say we got our starting five, and let's say Spain has their starting five. Let's say they match up evenly because you're gonna put your best five out there. But where we make our biggest strides that are the next 7 guys,
Hmm.
because we can bring off another 5 star. We can bring off all these guys that are continue to build and take the other teams juices down because of the fact that they won't be able to go as deep and as talented as we are. And like I don't, contrary to what everybody says, the world's catching up, and I do think the world is getting better, but I still think we're the standard. We're still the standard.
For a high school coach that has never been involved with anything like that outside of the select world here with Darren Williams to lead a few years ago, which isn't around anymore. But when you select a team, I would imagine you just have some of the best talent in the country. Man, you just pick the best players. Like, how hard is this? But to your point, there's way more that goes into it than that. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit, what does it look like to build the team at that level?
Well, for us, we do mini camps, which we do a fall mini camp the first week of October, and then we do a mini camp in the spring at the Final Four site.
Hmm.
And what that does is give us opportunity to be able to put eyes on kids and be able to see them in that environment, because USA basketball, it's a different environment because you're all around good players. And, it's easy for a kid to go and dominate their high school team or even their travel team if they're the best player. But when you're in a room with 80 of the best players on their team, like, you got 80 players and they're all pretty much the best player on their team. That's a different dynamic. And I think, it's an adjustment for players. And we have those mini camps and we're able to evaluate, we're able to take them through a lot of the things we do at USA to see who can adapt and see who can adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And, after those mini camps, we generally will be playing in a FIBA tournament this summer. So we'll have a training camp where we'll invite back 30 kids.
So from 80 to 30.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean it's all 30 from those mini camps, because there's some kids that might not attend mini camp. We might see them during the high school season.
Yeah.
Our guys that go out and scout and look at different kids, they could find a what do you call it? A
Diamond in the rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? What was Shaq's character in Blue Chips where he was down
Yeah, exactly.
in that little gym?
Yeah, you might find one of those. I mean, we found those, and so we bring back those 30, and then we'll have a training camp, and after a few days, we'll cut it down, pretty much to about 16 or so, and then we'll cut down to 12, and those 12 we'll leave and take off for where we're playing at. This past summer we played the U16s and we played it in Mexico. So we took off and went to Mexico. This summer we'll play the 17s and we'll take off and we'll go to Istanbul, Turkey, and we'll go play in the World Cup, which is one of the it's the premier of the national team tournaments. So we'll pick those teams, man, and again, it's not easy because all the kids have never been cut before. They've never been cut before. So, it's a humbling experience, but it's a growing experience too. We've had kids that got cut one year and they came back and they made it the next year, or had kids that made it the first year and then didn't, got complacent. And, I always say complacency will get you replaced, and they come back and they don't make it the next year. And so it's a really grind, but you get a chance to represent your country, you get a chance to represent your community, your family, and yourself in the process of this. So it's very, very it's completely one of the best honors I've ever been able to have as a coach, because I feel like it's an honor where I'm not across the line shooting, and trying to survive in the field somewhere. I'm getting to serve my country from the sidelines.
Yeah.
it's no way in comparison to what our servicemen and servicewomen have to do. But I do feel like I'm doing my part in such a small way.
Yeah, Coach Showalter's talked about those kids that were cut, that did come back, that used that adversity in their life, or the struggle to make themselves better. And I got to imagine that those are cool stories for you when you see those kids. Like, yeah, that is a tough conversation with a guy that is so talented, to let him know that it just wasn't enough, but to see them come back, talk about rewarding right there, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, Justice Winslow's probably one of the more famous stories. I'm pretty sure Showalter shared that
Yep.
one, but he got cut, came back, and he was just unbelievable, and made the team. And he's kind of carried that edge and that chip on his shoulder ever since. I mean, and it gave him it's given him a really good long basketball career in the NBA. And it's stories like that you're able to share as well with players that are going through the process. And it's funny because I remember one year we picked, I think it was in 2000 and maybe 17, I think, but a team was selected and some guys didn't make it, and I remember Justin going on social media telling those guys didn't make it, just keep your head up. I went through the same process,
Hmm.
and I think those are the stories that help make kids who they are as well. It gives them opportunity to be able to see that this didn't just happen to me. It's happened to other guys, and just to see the bounce back. Because you always want to, one of our pillars of USA basketball, or one of our DNA is resiliency. Are you able to bounce back? And that doesn't just mean, in a game, but just period.
What's up, Coach? Are you looking for a way to elevate your off-season skill development? Well, look no further. With the Bology app, you can build a workout with our library or create your own content. Send that workout to your players, and then your players complete the workout by recording their session on their phones. You can monitor and encourage competition with our leaderboards for every workout. Bology offers player development solutions in the palm of your hands. Get your team started today by going to Bology.com for more info.
And to go into that culture piece a little bit more, about the standards and pillars that you guys have, I was thinking about, with you, the teams you have at home, the college programs you've been a part of, you have a lot of time to instill those standards. Culture, kind of that word gets subbed in and out with those, right? But you have a lot of time to do that. I mean, I have 187 days every year at Faith to establish and maintain and uphold, the culture. But you just said you got that mini camp and then another mini camp, and then you break it down. You go, what do you guys do to get the culture where it needs to be? And then I'll kind of give another question. Does it also have a lot to do with the character of the kids? Because I would imagine if you're choosing high character kids, players, then it's easier to get them to buy into those standards that you have.
Well, it starts with just the whole USA basketball culture to begin with. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, I've been in different arenas as far as basketball goes. And I think USA basketball has the best culture of any basketball organization because, when you got professionals that want to represent their country and they want to do it for free and just, they want to be able to play, that tells you something about the culture of the program and the height of it. And so just that USA basketball culture alone, when kids walk through that door, they feel honored and they feel blessed and grateful to be able to just participate even in a mini,
Yeah.
and so long as we keep that type of, whereas that type of standard and that type of stigma where they want to be there and they're like feel it is one of the greatest honors to be able to do that. That'll continue to help our program continue to thrive and
Yeah.
evolve and grow, even in this era where it's all these different things are being thrown at these kids. We try to stand alone and just stand in our own lane and continue to just put out a great product. But as far as like when kids come in there, like especially like for mini camp, we take them through what those practices are pretty intense, and there's a lot of teaching, there's a lot of learning, and they play as well. And the good part about it, we partner with the NBA and NCAA, so NBA scouts are there, and so it gives them a chance to play in front of NBA scouts in that environment, in that culture. And so again, it's just the opportunity within itself. I think it really promotes excellence throughout, and then it also gives young men the opportunity of a lifetime, to possibly be able to one day, represent their country.
Coach, I love that you said that the feeling of that the players have of being grateful and blessed to be there. My first thought was that, like, how cool would that be for all of us coaches, for our players to feel that way about our program? And, like, I know USA basketball, it's kind of, I mean, if you live in this country, if you've watched our Olympic programs over the years and the amazing job that Coach K and all the guys have done, in the last 15 years, and that's not a diss on any of the guys before that, but it really is cool to see the program grow the way it has. In your opinion, though, how do we at Pace Academy, at Grapevine Faith, how do we get our players to feel grateful and blessed to be a part of it?
They got to take ownership in it. I think they got to take responsibility for it. That's one of the things we really strive to have at Pace, and I've had it at my other places I've been. They've got to take ownership of it to where it's their program. We're there to guide, and we're there to, set the structure and set the things in place for it to be, a situation where they are able to take ownership of. And, once they take ownership of it, it becomes a rather, simple process of, kids wanting to be there, wanting to play, and wanting to represent. Because, success, everybody's not going to win every year. Everybody's not going to win the last game every year.
Yeah.
Even though they want to, I've been fortunate to do it a few times, but you just don't. It just doesn't happen. So you got to want to compete more than you got to want to win all the time, because you can't win every single time. And I think that's really, really important, especially for our guys in our program, because learning to compete will help you not only in basketball, but it'll help you in life. And if you're a competitor, it gives you a chance in every facet of your life. I don't care what it is. And I think just being able to, lay that foundation of, what competing is all about, that it doesn't always include winning, but it's just about going out there, giving your best effort every single time. That's what competing is. And that's what drives, like in our program, that's what drives us. So, like, just to say that, but also follow that up with, we have highly competitive practices. We compete when we play in games.
Yeah.
I've always gotten, and it's truly a honor for people to say it, but they say your kids play so hard. And that's, that's just a reflection of what we try to instill into our program. And so when I hear that, just confirmation that we're getting somewhere, or we're right where we want to be, as that, as far as that goes. And I just think it's a life lesson in that. I really do. I don't think it's something that you got to have that element in your life.
And I love that you talked about the distinction between competing and winning, because I think I'm guilty of this. Is I tell my players I want them to compete so that they win. Like, it's almost like that's the carrot, but you're right on the money. It's like the test isn't in if you win or lose. The test is in whether you compete or not. And to get them to understand that. And then my follow-up was going to be, how do you create competition? Because you can't just say we're going to be the most competitive team. We're going to be the toughest team, and it magically happens.
Yeah, I mean, we with our practices, man, we have pretty much winners and losers in every drill we do. I mean, whether it's a 3-on-3 drill, or whether it's a free throw shooting drill, or whether it's a shooting drill, whether it's, whatever the case is, we try to, promote a situation where they have to compete. And it becomes a thing where it's infectious. We've done things where, of course, if the winners win, losers run. All right. But we've also flipped it and said, all right, winners run. And what we instilled in that is, if you win, you get a chance to run a sprint and get even better than what you were before you did it.
I love to be there the first time where you make the flip. And
Yeah, it's
then
like, whoa.
what?
Then you explain it to them and you kind of give them the ideology behind it. And
Yeah.
then, now guys are mad that they lost because they don't get to run. They don't get to get better. And so they're mad that they lost. And so now you're really just kind of sharpening your irons on both ends. You got guys that's competing to win, to run. And then you got guys that are, losing, that's mad they're losing. And instead of being, they don't get to run. And usually
Yeah.
lose the ones that run. So we usually do winners, we usually do lose run for the first, let's say, month of practice, and then we'll flip it and we'll go winners run. Then we just kind of alternate it as the season goes through. But
Coach, I'm writing that down. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
oh man,
Of
yeah,
flipping it, making winners run, and what a great message to send. I'm a Star Wars fan, so don't
no.
make fun of me for that. But no, but that's like some Jedi stuff right there. If you could get them, we won. Let's get on the line. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like if I was to walk in, I would think, what is happening at this place? Shawnee Harley, it was a Canadian Olympic coach on the women's side for 20 years. And now she has this program called Winning Matters. And she talks a lot about players. Like, we obviously want them to love winning. We want them to hate losing, but we don't want them to be afraid to lose, because the fear of losing, and this is in my opinion, the fear of losing, I think that's what makes shooters tighten up in that moment when they need to step up with confidence and knock it down. Maybe it holds players back from actually giving their very, very best, taking the risks that we need them to take. So in your opinion, how do we have this competitive atmosphere where there are winners and losers, but without them having the fear of losing? Because in Harley's words, a team that's not afraid to lose, man, that's a dangerous team to play against.
It goes back to, what I was just saying about competing. I think if that dynamic of having guys that compete and not necessarily compete that you're going to win, but just that you're going to go out and give your best effort. I think effort is something that, again, you can coach it, but it's better when it comes from within. And if we could teach our guys to just go out and give the best genuine effort every single time. And of course, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have good practices, you're going to have bad practices, you're going to have a good quarter, you might have a bad quarter. But just the idea of like, did I give it my best effort?
Yeah.
Did I give it my best effort? If you got that part in place, I feel like you're going to be successful more times than not. But if you're not, at least you gave it everything you had to be.
Yeah.
I think again in this, the way this era is coming about, we're seeing this different, in basketball. I know you probably see it. We all see it. It's been around it for a long time. I think trying to get the kids to do their very best every single time will help them more so than if we just sitting there patting them on the back for little things that, sometimes, if they only do one or two little good things and we're just praising them and patting them on the back for that, instead of like putting them in a position where accountability and responsibility for giving your best every single time is the requirement, or if that's the expectation. I think they gain more value for that, as not only as players but as human beings. And they can pass that trait on to the next person or to the next ones that will follow them, or what have you. So I'm just big on and I use the word competition, but I think competition or competing is about getting your best effort. And I think that's what it's really centered around.
Do you think a lot of players truly know what their best effort is?
No, I absolutely don't think
I
they
don't either.
I don't think they know. And I think that's part of our job
Yeah.
and I always say, I'd rather for you to aim high and miss. And I mean this in coaching, I mean this in playing, than to aim low and hit. Because if I aim high and I miss, I'm probably going to fall in a good area, but if I aim low and I hit that, what am I, I'm not doing that good.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of it. And I think, again, we have to, as coaches, you know, you only you get what you like. I tell coaches this all the time. What you emphasize is what you get.
Yeah.
If you emphasize what competing and playing hard, it's funny because like my players, a lot of them, they're playing travel ball right now, and I'll go to games and I go just to strictly support. I tell them I'm not there to coach you. I'm not there to. If you ask me after the game what you think or how, then I'll give my input or what have you. But I'm just there to support you. But I also make sure they understand that, you know, uh, you have to put yourself in position because you hear those, well, I'm not playing a lot, or the coach this, coach that. Are you giving your best effort? But let's take all that other stuff out of the equation. Are you giving your best effort? Are you competing every single play?
Hmm.
Because what I know about coaching is those players that compete and give their best effort every single time they're on the floor, they tend to play a little bit more. It might start off gradual, but they tend to play more because that's what we can relate to when we're coaching.
Yeah.
So,
That's really good. I asked that question about playing hard because, like you, I agree. I don't think most of them know what 100% feels like. And the reason I ask them if they do know, and some will raise their hands, they do. Or I was like, I don't think you do because of how hard it is. How hard it is to actually give that 100%. Like there is this almost and this is from my humble playing career in college, which wasn't fantastic by any means, but I wasn't very athletic compared to the level I was playing. So I had to go to this almost blackout moment of effort. Like I tell my guys, there's a level of effort that is it's your very, very best that you don't even really know how you got there, how you did that. And the problem with that is you got to be in really good shape because that's hard to sustain for a long period of time. But there is that point that you can get. And then, I mean, great nugget about how players that play hard will find their way because I've always felt like talented players that are on a roller coaster, they may have those high moments where I may be on the bench a little bit more, where I've got to be giving my very, very best there. But if I stay consistent with my effort in those low moments, coach, that's where I steal time. Like
yeah.
that's where I get. And then over the course of time, hopefully I continue to improve my skill.
Yeah, it's a choice. That's all it is. Like, you know,
But I
so
think fear has something to do with that though. It does it can almost paralyze them from giving their very, very best. But I'm not, and that's not an excuse. It is completely in between their ears. Sorry, I cut you off.
no, no, no. I was just gonna give the example about, how everybody talks about being a two-way player, and what a two-way player encompasses. But uh I like to look at it like, it's either two things, it's one or two things. We either reasons why guys are not two-way players because the inability, they can't, or because they don't choose to. And I think, when you look at that particular statement or you look at how that transcends, it's all about effort. It's all about effort. It's all about competing. It's all about those things that will, put you in a position to be a two-way player. Everybody should be a freaking two-way player.
Yeah, the fact that that statement exists shows that there are dudes that choose to do only one or
Yeah,
the other. The
yeah.
dudes that guard really hard but can't shoot it in the like can't make it in the ocean, work on your shot. Like spend the time necessary. But most of the time, I think it's the other way though. It's they will give effort here on the offensive end that they like, but they don't give it on the other end. Yeah,
We get the clicks and the likes.
right. That's right. Man, it's refreshing to me to know that at your level of coaching, your level of play with USA basketball, that those little things do matter.
Absolutely. I mean, all those little things matters. I mean, and you can throw character right along with that too. Like we tell kids all the time, like a lot of times, it's hard to separate when we're in USA, when we're in a mini camp or a training camp, we're trying to pick a team, let's say, and we're trying to find separation. And all these guys are really freaking good. And you're saying to yourself, okay, who do we take, who we leave, but sometimes those decisions can just be based on a character decision. Like, do I want to take a kid thousands of miles away from home, uh, and know that his character is in question? Or do I take a kid that might be a tad less talented, but yet he has a tremendous character and is all about the right things?
Hmm.
And so we tell, those guys who we invite, we tell them that some of these decisions are made by just that. If you're not turning in your laundry in time to get your practice uniform washed for the next practice, and support staff has told you when you need to turn it in, and you don't turn it in, or if we say lights out at 11:30 and you're still out, those are ways we say, all right, this is how this decision is going to have to come down to. If it comes down to that, you hope it doesn't, but it's a valuable learning lesson for our players at USA when they do that. Like, they understand that it could come down just as simple as you walking by a piece of paper, wide paper, not picking it in, put it in the trash can, and the next kid does. Like, that's the kid we want on the team.
Man,
So,
I hope players listen to that. Like, I hope they hear that. Like, I think of the Dak video where he's sitting on the bench at a game and he throws his cup behind him, misses a trash can, thinks for a second of, I'm Dak Prescott, I don't have to get that, gets up and goes and grabs the trash. Like, those are those difference makers right there.
absolutely. I mean, all day. I mean, I think it makes character mean something.
You're right on the money. And I think that's what shows that that's how much the gold medal means. If the gold medal didn't mean more than just winning, then you would just pick the very, very best. Let's just take the best shooters from this game, the dudes that are off the charts the most athletically, and let's just try to see if we can get them together. But if the gold medal means what it does, which are the pillars that you guys have, the history that you have, honoring our country, like that type of ideal, when it embodies that, well, then crap, everything matters. Like, there are no little things. And how do we tie that back to like a high school program or a college program? You have to have an overarching theme to what you're doing that has to be bigger than just winning, or else, to me, then character. Why does character matter? It's all about just that. Like, it has to be about something more.
Yeah, I think, and that's how when you're dealing, like when I'm dealing with my program, I try to make sure our guys, it's not just about the court. We do service. We go into disadvantaged neighborhoods and centers, and work with kids and do different things away from basketball to tie that into how character is built, and how do you continue to build it. And it's so many different ways you can just try to continue to build character, and whether it's teammates mentoring each other, the older guys mentoring younger guys, or one of the great ways for our guys, for me, and it's coming up. I have my kids camp coming up, and I kind of like tell my players, you voluntarily mandatory have to work this camp. I need you to work this camp. It's not because I need your help, so to speak, but I need you to help yourself here in this area, because working with a lot of little kids, and Johnny's over here kicking somebody, and somebody is picking on someone, or you got to get them all herded and getting ready for lunch, and all these different things that they see that, man. And what I get a lot of times, coach, man, I don't see how you do it, man. How you do it? Like, that's you that like, you gotta think of it like
It's
that.
hard, isn't it? Yeah.
Give them the opportunity to be able to step into those shoes and be able to see what it really entails. They have a greater respect. And again, it builds character, because you can't just treat them like your little brother or little sister and go throw them in their room and somewhere. You got to figure out how to deal with it and be able to come up with a solution to make, things continue to go.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. Yeah, coach, I think one of the questions is like, what's a good culture building activity that you do with your program? Because I always love to hear little things that maybe it's a service project, maybe it's something that they do with their high school players down with the junior high. But to me, I do that too. I think it's a great culture building activity is to have your seniors to at Faith. It's a rite of passage where a long time, like when they become juniors, hopefully they were here in junior high. So they remember the seniors at that point working camp and they've been waiting for this moment to get up and now it's their turn. Coach, you said ownership early on in this talk, like we need to create ownership. To me, that's how you do it. This is their program and they're teaching up, coaching up the future, those Lions. And then you nailed it. How do we get appreciation, that grateful, blessed feeling? Put them in our shoes for just a little bit. And we can do that within practices as well. One of the best things I got from PGC from directing with them for years was allowing players when they're off the court to be evaluating another player. And when that game is done, they come together for 15, 20 seconds and you share what you saw on that player. Here's one stretch, here's one strength. And then you flip it and they've become coaches, co-creators of your program. But I think that work in camp, that's a great nugget.
Yeah, yeah. And I like the idea of, our guys, like you were saying, critiquing or evaluating each other. I see a lot of that in practice where guys go put their arms around a guy's shoulder and say, "Hey, you got to get this right," and it does my heart so good. I'm hoping they're saying the right things first.
Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
You need to shoot it 10 more times. You missed 15 in a row, but just shoot it 10 more times.
Yeah.
So it's like, but for the most part, I feel very confident that our guys do. But they like if you got a good, core and veteran guys and they understand they've been through the program and they understand the way things have been done and the way things should be doing, you want them to be able to express that.
Yeah.
You don't want them to just hold on to that. And it's not their, it's their responsibility to make sure they do share and they do open up and it creates an environment where everybody's learning,
And to that point, you need to have a common language as a program. You need to be saying the same things. If as a head coach, if I've got 3 or 4 different ways to talk about blocking out, then those 3 or 4 different ways, and probably assistant coaches that have their own ways, the message is going to get blurred. If it's clear, if there's a lot of clarity with what you're saying, then I think you start to see your players mimicking or saying the same things. And when they're mocking us or mimicking us, then we're in a good place.
Great place. Sometimes it can be funny or whatever it wants to be, but if they're saying the right things, it really does say that you're in a good place. And again, it just goes back to that culture piece. It goes back to just how you do things.
Yeah.
So,
but the intentionality that you have with creating those systems, those opportunities, that's the key. Because so many of us say that we want certain things. Like you said, I love what you said. You get what you'd expect or emphasize. You get what you emphasize. Yeah. So but we want to be a tougher team. We want to communicate better. And then we're frustrated that we don't do it. Look back, point that like extreme ownership, point that finger back. Like, when do we give them opportunities to practice those skills?
I mean, every day. Yeah. Every single day. I think it's an opportunity. When we do our film, we're getting ready for a team. We do our film edit. And, I divvy up my scouts amongst our coaches. So everybody has like 6 or 7 scouts on the staff. And let's just say, it's my scout and I'm walking into the, getting ready to go over film before practice and go through the scout or go through part of the scout. I quiz the kids, I start asking, hey, tell me something about number 3. But it's amazing because this is something we preach and something we really build upon our success about preparation. You get 8 or 9 hands raised to answer that question.
Yeah.
You're in a good place, and then let's say if somebody says something and they leave something out, another guy say, oh yeah, he's a capable shooter, when you get that kind of buy-in, because they believe in the preparation. I always tell them preparation breeds confidence. If you're prepared, you're going to be confident.
Yeah.
you're going to be confident no matter in what area of life. If you prepare, you will be more confident. It gives you opportunity to be more confident. And so, again, just every opportunity, every single day. We do something at the end of practice, what we call communication circle, and we adopted it from USA basketball. But I'll ask a question, and I'll have our guys lock arms, and after practicing, we'll just say, all right, tell the guy to your right something that he needs to improve on. And they'll look at the guy to their right and they'll tell him something that they believe that they need to improve on. And a lot of times they're spot on. And now we're not saying as
Yeah.
coach, it's coming from your peer.
Mm.
A lot of times they have more ability as a peer to be able to get that across in a more acceptable manner, or something that they're going to accept more so than a coach who's just, sometimes we can be, we'll yap and we'll continue to nag and we'll continue to try to get it out of them. But I think it's a great opportunity for the kids to be able to speak to each other. And we might do one, we'll say, what's your favorite basketball movie? We'll make it fun sometimes. And then sometimes, like,
Man.
tell me, give me 2 keys to the game to win this game on tomorrow. And, go around the room and you hear all these things and everybody's hearing all this stuff. And it's just like a bank of information just going in. And they remember it because it was said, in that little setting. And again, these are opportunities for guys to be able to speak out and speak life into this team.
Yeah. And what a great opportunity too to end practice on a high note.
Absolutely.
Because we don't. I wonder how many times this happens. Like, this happens. The last drill we were doing, it's just something negative, something that just got us as coaches just upset. But the time is up. Get together, and everybody leaves pissed off and not feeling like we're moving forward. I think that's up to us, is to give that time at the end to recenter, make sure that everybody. But it doesn't just have to be about basketball. Like you said, best basketball movie. Get their minds off of good or bad, what just happened. Remember what it feels like to be a part of the team. That's a good nugget.
We'll ask them even, like, what are you listening to right now? What's in your rotation on your music right now? And
Yeah.
what's your song you like to listen to before the game to get you going? And it's amazing to hear the different genres and the different, music that everybody likes to listen to. And every once in a while, us coaches will jump in and we'll say something and then give us that humanistic standpoint. They can say, "Oh man, they're human." Like, coach, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Whoa, coach, what you listening to, man? You're not listening to, Jay-Z or Lil Baby or whatever. So that's why I like.
Nice. You said one thing about when you were asking them questions, and you said you had 8 to 10 hands like in the air. I think that's something too. There has to be a distinction between, do all of your players, are they all really investing in the communication, the culture? 8 to 10 hands shows me that is happening. Or are we asking a question and the same 1 or 2 guys are answering every single time? We got to be careful with that. Like, we can't be blind to think that, yeah, our culture is strong. They know it. Or is it really that? Or is it only 1 or 2? And that's where I think you having the awareness to make sure that you, like, a lot of different hands, give different people opportunities to answer, not just little Timmy that it knows everything. And because little Timmy says it every time, we think the culture is in a good place. You got to be careful with that.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, like, we got guys that don't start or might not projected to play a lot of minutes, and they still know the scout and they know the information in the scout, which gives us as a coach, as a coaching staff, hey, that kid's ready. If the opportunity presents itself, we got to give him the opportunity because he's done what he's supposed to do. And if he knows that much of it, it might grant him an opportunity in a game that he might not otherwise have gotten, just based on, let's just say, if it was a talent or skill or, playing time thing. But it just gives you way more information and data to be able to process as a coach and be able to, utilize your players to the maximum of their ability. And some kids, like, and at one point in the season, we'll let them, come up with the practice plan and carry out a practice. And so they'll get together and it's amazing to watch, coach, what's that drill name that we do? When we do, it's like, you tell them, and it's like, but they're there. It puts them, in a present state of mind,
Yeah.
keeps them, again, they have to take a responsibility for our
Man.
program. And I think it's a great opportunity for them to do it. So we do that like once or twice a year, and it gives them, full ownership of practice. And we just sit there. We don't really, we try to say, well, we're not going to say, we're not going to tell you what to do. You guys tell us, and we'll coach you through whatever it is that you're doing, but we're not going to be the ones to say, all right, next we're doing this, and it makes fun. They have a lot of fun with it. They have a lot of fun, meaning like not, like silly fun, but they just have fun with the aspect of, wow, this is what goes into planning a practice.
Well,
Like,
I mean, as human beings, like, are we more excited when we're just being told to do something or when we feel like it's our idea? I'm way more excited when I feel like it's my idea that we're doing. And so,
absolutely.
yeah, no doubt.
Them being able to do that, it does more for them and for our program and for our culture of our program than any coach could ask for. I mean, it makes it great.
With USA basketball and being in college, all the levels that you've coached at, you've probably been in front of some and around some amazing leaders, amazing coaches. What are a few of those characteristics that if you had to choose that these guys kind of have in common, what do you see?
They're detailed, they have a plan, they're organized, and it makes them knowledgeable. Um, that's what I've seen out of the great ones, from Don Showalter to Kevin Eastman to, just a lot of guys I've been fortunate to sit in the room with. Scott Perry, former GM of the Knicks. Just really been fortunate to sit in some rooms and just, um, learn so much. But those are the common traits that I see. They have a plan, they're organized, they're detailed, and they're passionate about what it is that they're
Yeah.
doing. Hey, that's what our kids have to see from us coaches. Because if they see we're passionate about, certain things, and again, it goes back to that, what you emphasize is what you get. But if they see your passion and your desire to be, the best you can be, day in and day out. I tell, coaches that I mentor all the time, and even when I speak at different clinics, I tell them, I know our kids work hard. I know they spend a lot of time in the gym, but nobody's working harder than me. I'm not gonna allow no one as the head coach to work harder than me. I'm gonna be
Hmm.
working when you don't think I'm working, So that's just something I use for my own, source of just motivation and being able to, because when I get in front of our kids and when our staff is in front of our kids, I will verse my staff. We have staff meetings before practice. We have staff meetings after practice. They might be 2 minutes, they might be 10 minutes, they might be 20 minutes. They might turn into an hour. We just sitting there just talking about different things, but we try to be on the same page and we're all saying the same thing. And we identify kids that might be having challenges. We identify kids who are in a good place, kids we might need to be moving around. But having that bounce back and feedback gives, opportunity for those guys to grow as well. Because I believe in growing them as well, not just the players, the assistant coaches. My job, I feel like I'm preparing them for the next point,
Yeah,
and I don't want them to ever feel like they're not getting better as coaches. And so
man.
whether I'm challenging them or whether I'm trying to show them the way, it's always trying to get everybody better. That's how the program really thrives, because now everybody has a part and has a buy that they, are committed to.
And that's such a great reminder because the group that we pay the least amount of attention to is our assistant coaches. To me, it's a bad excuse to say I just don't have time to have staff meetings or they don't have time because you're rounding the money. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and the frequency of them is probably more important than the length of them at any given time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, again, I try to, like I'm calling a meeting for our coaches in another week or so, and we'll get together and talk about the summer, and we'll eat, we'll break bread, we'll probably have some things we remember from the season. We'll kind of laugh and chuckle about things we got to be better at. But it's always a point of striving to, grow them and stretch them. out of their comfort zone so they can grow. And likewise with me, they give me things that I got to go back and take a look at and try to figure out, as well. So I think that's the type of room we want when we talk about our coaches. We want a room where it's going to be a constant elevation and constant growth. And again, I'm losing one of my assistant coaches. He's going to take a college job, and I just think that again, those are like I feel validated as a coach a lot of times when with their success.
Yeah.
Not just about our team success, but their success individually and what have you. This year I was, selected to coach the McDonald's game, coach the East team. I was the head coach. And I took one of my assistant coaches, and he had no idea that I was going to select him. And, and he's only been coaching probably about like 9 to 10 years, but he's been with me. And I've been knowing him for a long time. And just the opportunity of that's the highlight of his, that's the highlight of his coach. And it's been guys coaching 40, 50 years and never had the opportunity to do that. And, he was just blessed and thankful that he got an opportunity to do that. And it's given him a whole new fire and desire to even want to, acclimate to even a higher level in this coaching realm. So it's just things like that are priceless for me.
Thinking back real quick to the list that you made, the detailed, plan, organized, I can't imagine a coach that has long-term success without those three things. Because without those things, to me, that's where the slippage happens, is if you're not detailed, you don't have a plan, you're not organized. That's where in high school, parent emails are going to come. At the next level, you're probably doing some type of violation you didn't even realize or didn't know about, right? Like that, those are huge. But then you're right on the money. It's not as important, or it doesn't come across in the same way if there's not passion behind it.
Right. I mean, it's everything, man. I mean, you gotta, we talked about passion. We talk about all the things that make up, being successful as a coach and trying to have a successful program. But I think, at the end of the day, there are certain things that got to be in place. And, I tell young coaches all the time, when they get a new job, they might become a head coach for the first time. And one of my biggest things I tell them, I said, make sure you're organized.
Yeah.
Sure that you take care of that. It's an administrative side to coaching that you have to pay attention to. You can't just think X's and O's. You got to think, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of different people. You're going to be parents. You're going to be dealing with, travel coaches. You're going to be dealing with all these different people that you didn't have to deal with as an assistant coach or as not being a coach or a head coach. And you got to be ready for it. And parents, one thing, I've learned over the years is if you give parents the information, it puts you in a totally better place than if they don't have information. I'm a big proponent of that. And so like our parents, they have all our calendars for the summer. They have our schedule for next year, where we're looking, they have all of that now. But and the funny part about it is, and I'm not going to wood with this, I've had, great relations as it pertains to parents, but it limits some of the things that you can get nickeled and dimed for from a parent. If you
no doubt,
and you have
more grace for your mistakes on the floor if you're organized off the floor, no doubt.
Yeah. So that's my advice to any young coach listening.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Coach, this speed round. These will be quick questions. We'll get you out, okay?
Okay.
All right. Easy one. Favorite ice cream flavor?
It's a tie. Sherbet and walnut, vanilla walnut.
Wow. Okay. I don't hear either of those very often, so very good. Very good. Greatest shooter of all time.
Steph Curry.
No hesitation there. Favorite gym that you've ever coached in?
Sequoia High School is a school here in Atlanta, or Metro Atlanta. I mean, their fan base is unfreaking believable. We had to go in there and play a playoff game. And I've never seen an atmosphere
Wow.
like that in my life. I think it was just unbelievable.
Best basketball movie of all time.
He got game
That's a good one. Jesus Shuttlesworth.
all day.
Ray Allen was good in that. He was.
So good.
Yeah. And Denzel.
And Denzel was the man.
Yeah. Oh, Coach, this is a new one I've added in. 3 people that you would love to have dinner with, all time, any time.
Barack Obama, Michael Jordan, and probably Bill Gates.
All right, that'd be an interesting dinner right there. Texting or talking?
Talking and texting. I'm a
Little both. And this is especially for me in Texas, we don't have a shot clock. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
shot clock, shot clock, shot clock.
What time should it be at?
It should be at for high school, I say 30 seconds. Yeah.
Overseas though, isn't it 24 for all?
Yeah, FIBA is 24. And I'm good with 24, but I think if you're gonna do it, you got to kind of work your way through it.
We'll start with 30 and then move. Yeah. You're up 3.
I definitely think college should be 24 though.
Oh yeah. I would love to see that. It's just so slow at times and a lot of control.
Yeah, it should be 24.
Yeah. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Nice. You're up 3 on defense with 7 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul? Let's say 5 seconds. I think 7's too long.
5 seconds. We're up 3. If we got, we foul.
Okay. What book would you give someone besides Coach Showalter's book that came out?
The 48 Laws of Power.
2 more. Favorite place to travel?
Spain.
Never been there. Never been. Pretty special.
Gotta go.
Yeah. Last one, probably most important in basketball. Who is the GOAT?
Michael Jordan.
He's at your dinner party. So, I mean.
Yeah, different cat, man. Different guy.
Coach, this was awesome, man. So enjoyable. Can't believe I had this time with you. Thank you so much for, what you do for coaches, for USA Basketball. Just really appreciate you, man.
Oh, man, thank you. And thank you for what you do for the game, man. You constantly growing the game. You're, putting out great content. And again, that's what we're supposed to do as savants of the game. Just continue to grow the game.
Man, I appreciate that. And best of luck, this summer with the team that you're coaching. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.